I highly underestimated the EDH players, man.
Yeah, I thought they didn't play instant speed spells, but it seems like blue, the color we're gonna go over this today, they're gonna kind of surprise us a little bit. I didn't think they were degenerates like us in blue.
No wonder you guys hate it so much.
And we're gonna talk about it. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the Turning Point Meta, where we talk about decisions, techniques, and maneuvers of CEDH. Today, we are going over blue. I am Chris, and my co-host, Nate.
Hey guys, how's things? I hope they're all going fantastic for you.
Yes, just remember, blue can't hurt you here, okay? Right now, it's a safe place.
But oh boy, did this throw me for a loop.
I didn't expect it.
Yeah, so obviously, like all the other colors, we're gonna break down the differences and what we care about, and this was surprising to say the least. So, here's the one thing to know about me as a person, for those that want to know more about me as an individual.
I do. Hello, we're friends.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind eating my own words and being wrong.
Vegetable soup, yeah, the little things you get out of the cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boyardee, whatever they.
What the heck they are. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Because my idea of blue and my thought process on blue was that you didn't see a lot of counterspells. You didn't see the Ristic studies. You didn't see a lot of these pieces that we're so used to in our format because they're feels bad effects. And
Sure.
no one really likes seeing them. And maybe now I'm understanding why you guys don't like seeing them.
Sure.
Because I think they're a lot more played than I thought.
Yes, by a considerable amount. I thought, okay, you guys are playing a bunch of crabs and milling people out, and Jace the Mind Sculptor in blue. I'm like, cool, yeah, sure. You know, some Dak Faden, maybe stealing some of those big artifacts. No, you guys are going for the throat, and we salute you. So. The first couple ones that we're going to go over are all the freaking counterspells. I always make the joke, hey guys, you guys have the negate, right? You have the negate. It only hits non-creature spells. No, you guys go for the throat.
You do.
Counterspell is played 43% in EDH on EDH Rec. You guys say no a lot. Your friends say, come on, man. They say, no, I'm not letting anything through.
I'll give you permission if I so choose.
Yeah, no. Cool, counterspells played prolifically. I was expecting, okay, maybe 25%, maybe 15%, because hey, you know, we're all friends here. We came from our houses to the local LGS, and we're just here to chillax. And no, we're going crazy. Negate this, counterspell this, arcane denial that. We're going nuts. We are
you are playing this game.
We have power, and we can tell you no because everything else in our life is going.
But yeah, I'm so surprised by that. Yeah, counterspell sitting at 43%.
Two people in your pod have a
counterspell,
and they're going to use it,
which is just crazy to me. And then second on the list is negate.
Okay,
second on the list. Now, this is a massive drop off. However,
yes,
only 23% on negate, but
still a good card.
Still like a good card, and countering creatures is still a good thing to do, which is why I can understand counterspell.
Sure.
But yeah, that means that one person at that pod has a negate as well, on top of probably on top of their counterspell.
I don't blame you. We went over white. Farewell is a disgusting card. You negate that every time. You hold out. Turn 20. Like I'm just waiting for that.
He's gonna have it. I know he is.
He's gonna have it. He's a mono white. That bastard's gonna play it, and I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna be the hero of the night. With my negate. So hold your negates. They're important, okay? You only got one of them. And you might be the only one in your entire pod that does. So the next one on the list is Arcane Denial. This one feels great because you get to draw 2 cards at your upkeep. No,
the person who gets countered.
They get to draw 2 cards, and you draw a card, but hey, it replaces itself.
Yeah.
It hits anything?
Arcane Denial hits anything.
Anything.
Yep, just much like Counterspell.
Cool. So it's a less difficult way to play a Counterspell, plus it replaces itself. Cool. You draw 2 cards. They're both going to be lands anyways. I don't care.
Right. Well, and the thing with Arcane Denial that I like a little bit more than Counterspell is the fact that it is 1 and a blue and not blue.
Correct.
Right. So if you're in a lower color, like if you're not mono blue, maybe you're in blue and red or something.
Sure.
It's nice to have that little bit of fixing, so you can still counter anything, but you don't need to have blue open in order to counter something.
You can also play the medallions and make it just a blue.
Yeah, exactly. The
awesome.
What is the blue one? Sapphire medallion.
Sapphire medallion. Cool. No, it's just blue. Same with arcane with negate. Now you can basically use the mana that you would have used on counterspell for negate and arcane denial. It's like cool. No one's double not doing anything.
Right now, no one's definitely doing nothing. It's surprising. Arcane denial, as a side caveat, has always been in a weird spot in the competitive scene. People have talked about it here and there because on one side of it, you're able to counter anything, and it's 1 and a blue, so it's a little bit less restrictive, unlike a counterspell, which is blue. But giving someone cards. I don't want to give people cards, man.
I would much rather suspend it with delay. Delay feels about the same thing as arcane denial, where it's 1 and a blue, but you put 3 time counters on it, and on the beginning of their upkeep, they remove 1. You do that on turn 2, turn 1, turn 3, or whatever. They're not going to get till turn 5. And normally, if it's a game-winning spell, people are already saying, okay, cool, let's not get crazy here. Let's hold up some interaction. Or there's a Drannith Magistrate, and they can't cast it from exile.
Yeah.
That's kind of where, like, the competitive side goes to me, where, like, why would I play Arcane Denial when delay doesn't see enough play as is, and it hits anything, and I love delay. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
I think delay should see play in EDH, to be perfectly honest, because imagine someone putting a game-winning spell on the stack.
Galta.
You delay it, and everyone decides, the 3 of you go, cool, we need to kill him before that resolves. You know what I mean? You could all team up and be like, if he dies, he never casts it.
You got 3 turns. Hopefully you live until then. If
right,
not,
because we are all coming at you, bro.
We got the socks, we got the soap, we're coming full swing.
We're going at it.
Yes.
So interested to see that delay doesn't see play. But yeah, Arcane Denial is good because it does specifically hit anything. But then again, so does delay. But I can understand in a long-form game why delay might not see play.
Well, it feels kind of good in like a political game where like EDH is like, hey man, I know I really have to stop you, but I'm going to use this spell and you draw 2 more cards. And hey, I'm not trying to screw you over. We're trying to have fun. It's been a long week. I'm not trying to stop you right here. You can have 2 cards, and I'll have a card.
Hey, you mulligan down to 5. Like, I'll give you an extra card. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Cast your Simian Spirit Guide. That you know, it's like cool. I'll counter that and give you 2 other things.
Yeah,
so
and I'll replace my cards. Is that cool?
Yeah,
we're good. We're good.
Send
Perfect.
it. Okay, we're best friends. You don't use your negate and counterspell on me, or that's where this next one kind of comes in.
Yeah,
an offer you can't refuse. Sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. And sometimes you counter your own free spell.
Yeah. Offer you can't refuse is really, really cool.
I like
when offer you can't refuse. So offer you can't refuse is 1 blue, and you counter a target non-creature spell, and the person who got their spell counter gets 2 treasures.
Sure.
So I can see that in an EDH game making a ton of sense. Because you obviously don't want their thing to resolve, and 2 mana sometimes just doesn't mean anything.
Ooh, that gives me a very good idea. Going back to Arcane Denial, you could counter your own spell and draw 3 cards.
You absolutely could, yeah.
So in the same kind of way, Offer You Can't Refuse is similar to Negate, but they get 2 treasures. You can use it on someone, and you can use it on yourself. I'm like, cool, I don't really need this 1 mana spell. What I really need is 2 more spells.
I need
2 more treasures for next turn to cast my big eye. It's almost like a ramp spell if you're able to double spell in 1 turn. Yeah,
you're like, oh, I'll cast my Tormod's Crypt.
Sure.
And then Offer You Can't Refuse it. Cool, now I have 2 treasure for next turn, I'll pass.
Perfect.
And hey, it's almost like a ramp in blue, which was not something blue does.
It's like playing 2 signets.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Offer You Can't Refuse, I like on Offer You Can't Refuse, especially like in EDH games. I think it makes a ton of sense. And 1 blue is so easy to hold up.
Fierce Guardianship is the next one, which once again, I'm like, I didn't expect this one to see much play.
Yeah, this one I did not expect at all.
Fierce Guardianship is 2 and a blue, and you can counter a
non-creature spell.
Non-creature spell. So similar to Negate. It sees about 18% play in EDH. You have to have your commander out, and you can play it for free. Otherwise, it's a 3 mana.
A commander. Just like Deflecting Swat. If you control a commander, so you can steal someone else's commander.
If you're that kind of person that steals your other person's commander with, like, what, Memnarch? Is that what it is? Memnite?
Yeah, like Memnarch or Treachery.
Sure.
Treachery's a
You
good one.
treachery his. That would be horrible.
That would be a mean thing to do,
Yes,
but I would do it.
But you are in blue, so you can get away with it, I suppose, if you want to be that person.
You're already known as being evil the moment you
Yes,
sit
you are.
blue.
You are in blue. You're the evil scourge of almost CEDH, and we salute you. So Fierce Guardianship is really great. It is a free spell if you get it out. A lot of the EDH commanders are normally gonna not be like 2 or 3, and a little bit more difficult to get out. Fierce Guardianship definitely has taken a turn down, same as Deflecting Swat, because you need to have your commander out. We recently got 2 bans that really affect this with Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt, so likelihood of you getting it out early, not as high, but we are in EDH talking here. Okay, reasonable. Play your commander turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, and hold this up for a farewell. Great. Fantastic. They're not going to see it coming.
Yeah. Fierce Guardianship, when it was printed, people were upset.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, the whole cycle, people were pretty upset, right? Because free
spells?
spells are free spells, like regardless of what they are. Well, okay, the green one doesn't see play because it's like a free fog, but people don't like free counter magic in the EDH side. From the people I've played with, let's be fair. For the people I've played with, anytime I would throw out a Fierce Guardianship, it would always get the eye rolls and he's got his Fierce Guardianship.
Sure.
And I'm just surprised to see it, because if that's the reaction that people get from your cards sometimes, typically you take those cards out.
Sure.
You go, okay, this was a little bit too high power. Maybe I should just remove this and walk away from it. And
sure,
maybe you do.
Or they should remove farewell, and
yes.
then we can put the guns down
in the holsters, and we don't need to run any more counterspells.
So I mean, Fierce Guardianship is just not expected.
Yeah, and I think the other reason it's not expected is because a lot of people, like you said earlier, they run like higher end commanders, things that are 5, 6, sometimes 7 mana or more.
Will Helt is 4, sure.
Yeah, so but I guess maybe in a casual game you just have more time to build.
Yes.
And so it's simpler to get your commander out, and you're probably not going to get it countered sometimes.
Sure.
Well, heck, maybe I could be wrong. Your counter spell's at 43%.
Sure.
So maybe it does. But it's just surprising that with such high cost commanders that you would run Fierce Guardianship. But I think because you have a longer time in the game, maybe that's why it sees a bit more play.
Sure.
So I don't know. Like I said, you guys really surprised me here. This whole list is just really interesting.
The next one on the list sees 17% of play. Definitely sees CEDH, but in EDH, it's Swan Song. This one
really throws me off.
It throws people off. I've had so many people try to counter my artifact with the Swan Song, and I'm like, enchantments, instants, and sorceries. And it's gotten me. I'm like, oh, put that to the bin. I'm like, wait a second. The thing with Swan Song is kind of similar to like Chaos Warp,
Generous Gift,
and the Beast Within, where cool, you do the thing, you stop the thing, and then they get something because of that. And with this, you get a 2/2 flying bird, which isn't nothing. You can block with it. I don't know, Swan Song.
Yeah. Which specifically, it'll be up on the screen, but specifically, Swan Song is 1 blue and it hits an enchantment, an instant, or a sorcery.
Yep.
Correct? Those 3
yes.
specifically. Swan Song feels weird.
Yeah.
In EDH for some reason. Maybe there's just some super powerful.
It's a 1 mana negate.
Yeah, that is fair.
Similar to an offer you can refuse, but instead of getting 2 treasures, you get a 2/2.
Yeah, you get a bird. You basically get nothing unless, of course, you're utilizing creatures a lot. But
okay, it's a token.
I mean, you're not seeing Gaia's Cradle in EDH, so I don't know.
It can block. It can attack. I mean, it seems similar to an offer you can refuse, whereas an offer you can refuse, you can leverage it a lot more whenever it's used against you. Swan Song, I thought would see a lot more play than even negate, but I mean, there's some enchantments.
Well, I think it's the fact that it doesn't hit all non-creatures, right? Like you still can cast your planeswalkers, you can still cast. You can still cast
battles.
Yeah, your battles.
Sure.
Neither one of the bird, the Strix Serenade, or Swan Song hit battles, which maybe gets battles a little bit of a bump. I don't know. Battles aren't really super powerful. But I think it's just the fact that it doesn't hit all non-creatures that maybe brings it down a little bit of a peg. So
And
it's
that's why
very specifically
an offer you can refuse is a little bit better. Fierce
Right.
Guardianship, cool. So hitting more things and overall,
the limitation on it, I think, is
Okay.
the main point.
Speaking of limitations, this next one doesn't really have too many.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is another counterspell. It's seen a lot less play, about 15%, but it is Mana Drain. Mana Drain is incredibly good. Cool. They cast their 9/9 commander. Cool. Blue, counter any spell, and on your upkeep or your first main phase.
It is on your first main phase.
On your first main phase, you get that much colorless mana. Cool. They cast their 9/9. Cool. Now I can use that 9 mana to cast my 12/12. I guess I don't know,
or whatever, But you have 9 colorless mana to work with, or 2 colorless mana, depending on whatever you countered. But you're getting something out of that.
Yes.
I think the interesting thing for people to know, casually, in case people didn't know this, and you probably are aware of this, is that Mana Drain used to be worse than Counterspell because Mana Burn was a thing.
Sure.
Mana Drain for a long time actually was the bad one to play. You wanted Counterspell, you didn't want Mana Drain. Now I feel like it's kind of the other way around, but I think the reason it's not super high on our list is because Mana Drain's kind of expensive.
Cost-wise.
Counterspell's like $1.
Sure.
Right? Counterspells you can find a dime and a dozen. I think Mana Drain's sitting at like $40, $50, maybe more.
Understandable. That's why you guys should swap over to CDH and just proxy it. It'll be okay. You can get your Mana Drains, you can get your counter spells, you can get your negates, and just come on over. Yeah, Mana Drain is incredibly good. We don't see it as much play in CEDH, but I think it's a really good card, and sometimes you can bump that into like a Kinnan. Or, if you want to be able to play it. I know that Tivit definitely sees, because cool, now I can play my Tivit turn 2 or turn 3 kind of scenario. This last one, Nate, you want to go over?
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about this card. I'm just surprised that it's at so this next card's at 11% play, and it's Force of Will. And again, I am shocked by this because I was under this impression that EDH players just couldn't stand these kinds of effects.
No free spells.
And so you wouldn't play them. So you wouldn't see them. But as far as our suite goes, 11% is Force of Will. So Force of Will is 3 blue. You can cast it for that cost and counter any spell.
5 mana.
Or you can exile a card from your hand, pay 1 life, and counter a spell.
For free.
It's a free counterspell. It's a free counterspell, just like Fierce Guardianship, but all you need is another blue card in hand. That's it.
Okay.
That's as simple as it is. Best I would say by a country mile, the best counterspell.
Arguably, potentially.
Losing
that other spell can feel really bad.
Absolutely. It's just the fact that anything that's free that you don't really need a lot of like, for instance, Fierce Guardianship, right?
Okay.
It counters a non-creature spell.
Sure.
For free if you have your commander.
Sure.
Force of Will, if I have 1 blue card in hand, which typically if I'm running Force of Will, I probably have enough blue cards in the deck to use it, right? I'm casting a Force of Will. Sure, I lose that 1 card, but I don't have to have my commander. I don't have to have anything on board. I don't have to have a land. And I can cast Force of Will.
Turn 1, stop it.
Turn 1, if someone tries to go off, I can Force of Will your ad nauseum that you were going for on turn 1.
Yes, which is why it sees a lot of play in CDH and EDH.
Yeah. It's just, I'm just surprised by it, really.
I really am. I'm perplexed that you guys are not playing.
You guys are
CDH.
a lot more savage than I thought you were. I think that's what I'm really getting. And yeah, I'm surprised. It's like, if you guys like these cards, like, you can play these and not feel bad.
Yes.
Right? Because that's the other thing, right? The EDH, they don't like your Force of Wills and your Fierce Guardianships. Like I said, I've seen the eye rolls and the comments online and the Reddit posts about hating free counter magic. And because people feel bad, people feel terrible. They're like, "Oh man, you just have your commander and you just get to counter my stuff for free.
You got a $50 card.
Yeah, you pulled a $100 Force of Will, so you're just gonna Force of Will my stuff. Oh, that's not cool."
You're right.
Whereas in CEDH, like, if we get got by a turn 0 Force of Will, we're like,
good job,
damn
man.
it.
Good job.
I almost had it. All right. Yeah, sure. Let's go
you
to the next.
had it. So if you want to have your cake and eat it too, and play your Forces of Will, your Fierce Guardianships, go ahead. Okay, proxy a deck. Come on down to the Queen's Realm. Take us on. We're there Fridays and Sundays playing Forces of Will, playing Fierce Guardianships, deflecting swats, all the free spells. Okay, so you're welcome.
And we will not be upset with you.
No,
we will not be mad.
We won't hate you. We'll actually high five you and say that was
a good counter.
That was a good one. You got me there. I didn't think you had it, but you did. We've gone over counterspells in blue, saying no on the stack. The next thing that I see is like the upheaval kind of effects, where like, cool, return everything to their to your hand.
Bounce effects,
essentially. Yes, the one that's seen the most play at 28% is Cyclonic Rift. This one is good. Once again, just like with a braid, just like with some other effects.
Vandal Blast is similar.
Correct. It's modal. It can do one or the other. It can hit one thing or it can hit all the things. So with Cyclonic Rift, it is 1 in a blue, and you can return target non-land permanent. So you can't return their land. You can't.
That you don't control. Also, you cannot bounce your own thing with Cyclonic Rift. I learned that the other day, and for whatever reason, I always thought you could bounce your own stuff, but I never used Cyclonic Rift that way. But yeah, so
reading the card explains the card.
Yes.
We all do it.
Everyone's guilty of it.
We're all guilty. Hey, just let us know. We were wrong. We'll gladly eat our Cheerio.
Hey, I am on this episode, so that's fine.
Okay.
I accept it.
So there's the overload cost, which changes the effect similar to exactly like the Vandal Blast, where it says instead of target, it says all. And it's ones that you don't control. So the biggest thing about this is cool. Return everything besides lands that everyone else owns, and I get to hold all my stuff. Cool. Remember that Simian Spirit guide that you played into this, and you played into that, you played all your rocks? Cool. You get to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
You get to keep them. This card is always needed a reprint. They've reprinted it recently. Get your hands on it while it's still inexpensive. It is 7 mana.
Yeah, 6 in a blue.
It is 7 mana at instant speed. Cool. On the person's end step, you play this, cool.
You guys have nothing to defend yourselves against me.
Nothing whatsoever.
Unless you left your lands untapped.
Do it on their end step. Cool. Now I have 20 cards in hand. Got to go down to 7.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go discard. Then they get rid of their whole hand, and like maybe they were the problem, and so you just dealt with the issue. The other side of EDH that I see with Cyclonic Rift, though, is again a card that people don't like to see because it really just resets again. So, sort of like a farewell in a way,
that's
but almost can sometimes feel worse because then they can't redeploy everything that they just did. Well, it's because they almost feel the same in that way.
It does feel the same
because a lot of their mana gets returned to their hand. A lot of their creatures that were doing something get returned to their hand, and like they now have to decide what part of my board do I redeploy here? Do I get my mana back out? Do I deploy my creatures again? Like what?
I have 6 12 drops on the battlefield.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Like this thing was the thing that was discounting all that.
Yes.
And now they're all in my hand. What am I supposed to do? I have to discard them now. I can't keep them.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that happens with Cyclonic Rift and EDH is, so in CEDH, typically if someone overloads a Cyclonic Rift, that person's just going to win on their turn.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, right? Either that or they're going to be so far ahead that some people just go, you know what, man? You got it.
Yep.
Like I'm not, by the time I try to redeploy, it's going to be over. Like Cyclonic Rift and Kinnan, and then on my turn, I put out like a Trinisphere.
Yeah.
And then nobody's going to be able to do anything.
Or they have any of the card draw effects.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about next.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in a casual game, someone could overload a Cyclonic Rift, but then there's that expecting side of it where everyone goes, well, how long is this game going to take now?
Another 3
like,
hours.
Are you gonna kill me? Like, kill me. Like, can we just end this game? And they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make your life miserable. Is sort of what
I'm holding you hostage. It's Platinum Angel. Cool. You can't lose the game. That means you can't concede.
So fight me. It's rough.
Come on, Roger. I got to go to work in the morning. What are we doing?
Like, I don't feel good. My head hurts because I've been doing all this math, and then you just sent it all back to my hand.
I have way too much Mountain Dew Code Red. Way too much.
But yeah, so Cyclonic Rift sees 28% play, which is again, I totally get Cyclonic Rift. It's such a powerful card. But I'm just surprised to see it that it's played that often.
Yeah. So we bounce everything to their hand. Then what? We play a Rhystic Study or a Mystic Remora. So everything's bounced back to their hand. Both of these things kind of do the same thing in a different way. Rhystic Study is any spell.
Any spell.
Cool. You may draw a card if the opponent does not pay 1 mana. Mystic Remora is a little bit different. It's non-creature spell.
Yes.
And they have to pay 4 for you not to draw. There's a cumulative upkeep. Cumulative upkeep is, hey, every upkeep you have to pay more of whatever it is. So on turn, you play it on turn 1. On turn 2, you got to pay 1 mana. On turn 3, you got to pay 2, and so on and so forth. So most of the time you play it pretty early, and then it goes away. Whereas Rhystic Study, it'll be there all day.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It'll slow down the game, and especially if you just Cyclonic Rifted. Cool. Play my Rhystic Study. A pass turn.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead and redeploy.
No.
Like, I don't want to pay for you. I don't want to pay 3 mana for my Arcane Signet so you don't draw a card.
Sure.
Just go ahead, man. And then by the time it gets back to you, you have 20 cards in hand. And then you're like, okay, cool, I'll play this, and I'll get my Cyclonic Rift back to my hand, and I'll pass turn. And then everyone's just waiting for it again. And, like, just brutal stuff that you can do. But, yeah, these cards are, again, ones that really surprise me to see play in EDH, especially Mystic Remora.
Yeah.
That really surprises me.
18% play? Yeah, that's...
So the reason that surprises me is it's not that you don't play non-creature spells.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the point. It's mainly that it has that upkeep cost.
Yeah. Cumulative
So
upkeep,
it's like
yeah.
you have to consistently pay for it. But I don't know. Maybe when a game goes long and you just have so much mana and it's turn 8, like, who cares? I'll pay 6 mana for my Mystic Remora. I don't know.
I think anyone getting that much advantage, hey, Cyclonic Rift, return everything to their, like, you don't get hit by that. Same with, like, Rhystic Study. Like, anyone getting that much advantage over time just kind of skews the game. It's not necessarily deterministic that person will win, but it definitely helps them out percentage-wise. Cool, you're drawing 2 cards more a turn, and no one else is, unless we're all playing it, which is why I like CEDH, where a lot of people do play this. A lot of people, it slows down the game to an extent. Like, cool, I can't give the Rogsai 3 cards. I need to sit back and wait until this thing goes away or someone blows it up. Our next set of things that we're going over, you see a lot of these more so in, like, Legacy than you would, like, in EDH. Modern, maybe a little bit here and there. So these are the cantrip effects. So we have, first one, Brainstorm at 22%, Ponder at 13%, Frantic Search at 12%, Preordain at 11%, and Opt at 10%. Brainstorm, you want to go over what it is, how it works?
So Brainstorm is 1 blue. You draw 3 cards, and then you put 2 cards from your hand back on top of your library.
Ooh.
So, seems pretty simple, right? A lot of the time. So, the main sort of purpose of a Brainstorm, at least on the EDH side thing, and same thing with, like, Vintage, right?
Sure.
Is that a lot of the time you'll have, like, a fetch land.
Yes.
Something that allows you to search your library. You'll cast a Brainstorm, you'll look at the top 3, and if there's just nothing there, you're like, okay, I'll put these 2 cards back from my hand that I could care less about.
Yep.
Put them back, crack your fetch land, and shuffle them away.
Perfect.
I feel like in EDH, like, fetch lands and things like that are just not as prominent.
No.
So Brainstorm feels weird to me.
No.
Because all you're doing, if you're not going for a fetch, is you're just putting those 2 bad cards away for later.
But you know they're coming.
But you know you're going to draw these bad cards.
And that's where, like, the Brainstorm lock kind of comes in. Like, cool, I didn't get a fetch land. I know these other 2 cards, and they're garbage. But I can't let anyone know that they're garbage.
So I'm just going to draw them next turn.
Oh, wow, I didn't know this card was coming up next. And same for next turn. So that's where, like, Brainstorm is intriguing. It is instant speed, so you can do it on someone's end step. Like, cool, I need that 1 card. Cool, I did get that fetch land. Actually, I need all these cards except for 1. Cool, put, and you get to choose which order you put the last 2 back on. So you can say, cool, I want one of the cards, but not the other cards. Cool, the top one put fetch land, the bottom one I want to shuffle away. Go to my turn, draw, play the fetch land. Cool, get rid of it for next turn. It's good. Brainstorm has its advantages. The next one, Ponder. This is similar to the Brainstorm, where it's 1 blue. It's sorcery speed.
Yes.
You get to look at the top 3. You can organize them however you want, or you can shuffle.
Yes.
Cool. Then you draw 1 card. The disadvantage to this is you can't put 2 back from your hand. You can only look at the top 3 and put those in any order, decide to draw or shuffle. So Brainstorm's a little bit better because you can put your own cards from your hand. You actually physically
already had.
You draw 3 and you put 2 back. Whereas Ponder, it's you look at 3 and you put 3 back and draw 1 or shuffle.
Yep.
It's a really good card because,
Yeah.
like, cool, nothing on the top. You essentially get 4 looks at the card that you need, whereas Brainstorm says, I get 3 and a shuffle if I have the fetch. So there's definitely a give and take to Brainstorm and Ponder are normally systematically together. Maybe you're 4 Brainstorm and 2 Ponder, or 4 and 4, but normally these kind of go together. This one, like we said, was at 13% played. Anything to say about Ponder?
In my personal experience, I like Ponder a lot more than Brainstorm.
Okay.
In casual pods, because again, I see a lot less fetch lands in casual pods. I suppose you still have like your Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse and some of these other cards that like go and fetch. So it's not like you don't have fetches.
They recently printed during Modern Horizons 3 those 1 lands that are 3 different colors, and you can play them initially and then sack them later to go get any of those 3.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe those effects are like a lot better than they used to be now, and so maybe Brainstorm actually is better.
It's playable. I don't.
But I think something about Ponder just being able to like look and be like, I don't need any of these. I'm just going to shuffle.
Sure.
And then, maybe that card that you shuffle and then draw is the card you need. You're like, oh, sweet. That's awesome.
4 looks.
Yeah. So you get 4 chances rather than 3 with Brainstorm. And then, again, if you're not then running fetches, it makes it awkward with Brainstorm. But, again, maybe I haven't played enough casual recently that maybe Brainstorm's actually a lot better now. So
yeah, tell us which one you guys like the most down in the comments.
I'm interested.
Frantic Search. This one is the first one that costs a little bit more of the cycle. It's 2 in a blue. Frantic Search. Instant speed, go for the actual text of the card itself.
Yep. So you draw 2 cards, you then discard 2 cards, and you untap up to 3 lands. So Frantic Search, again, we talked about it, but it's 12% of play. But I like Frantic Search because if it resolves, it's free.
It's a free
rummage. It's like a free faithless looting.
Essentially, if it gets countered. Ugh.
That feels bad.
Then it's just like a Brainstorm from the grave.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think the other reason that I like Frantic Search is in some like more casual decks. Like for instance, I don't know how many times on this channel I'll say that I love Spellslinger, but I do. Is that I would run things like Goblin Electromancer and like Baral, Chief of Compliance, that would like lower the mana cost of something like this.
So it'll be 2.
So you're like, okay, I'll cast this for 2, and I'll float this mana with my land, and then I'll untap all 3 lands, and now I have an extra mana.
Sure.
So it was kind of interesting to like lower the cost of those things. When I played Vadric competitively, I loved Frantic Search because I could make it 1 blue and I untap 3 lands.
Yeah, I've seen some different times where you can kind of play, like if you ran some of the Ancient Tomb essentially affect lands, a little bit more expensive, less seen play, but cool. You tap 3 lands. And cool, and you get to untap, and now you have 4 lands. Guy's Cradle doesn't see as much play. There is the blue spell that makes all your blue tap for more than that.
You're talking about the specific one that says Islands, which is High Tide?
High Tide. So this would be interesting in like a High Tide deck where you cast High Tide, you tap 3 lands, and then you untap them.
Yeah, you tap. So you'd High Tide, tap 3 islands for 6 blue, because that's what it would make. Use 3 of it to cast Frantic Search. You'd untap those 3, and you'd still have 3 in the chamber, so you'd have 9 mana.
Correct.
Which is crazy. That's so much.
It'd be interesting. I mean, that's quite a bit on like a turn 4, probably, if you're just casting lands as you go. Like you said, Faithless Looting, pretty decent. Blue-black is definitely heavily played in EDH and in CEDH, and being able to, discard my big beater, then reanimate it is incredibly good. Yeah.
I also like the fact that it's instant speed, whereas Faithless Looting is sorcery speed.
Yes. Yeah. Could you imagine Frantic Search at sorcery speed?
Instant speed?
No, Frantic Search.
Oh, Frantic Search is sorcery speed. I don't think it would see very much play.
I don't think it would either because, But you can do it on someone's end step. Like, cool, these cards don't do what I need them to do. Plus, you get to still hold up interaction. Cool. Someone goes for the win. Cool. Frantic Search, draw 2, discard 2, untap.
Yeah.
3.
Oh, look, my Fierce Guardianship that I happen to have in my EDH deck. Counter it.
You guys play them, and we appreciate that you do. Frantic Search is super interesting.
I like it.
Preordain and Opt. So Preordain is scry 2 and then draw.
I believe so.
Serum Visions is similar to this one, where
Yes.
it's draw and then scry 2. It's basically reverse.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yes, Preordain is scry 2, then draw. So you get to look at the top 2. So it's similar to like a Ponder. You get 3 looks instead of 4. The advantage is they're on the bottom of the library. Cool. I do not need this card ever.
Yeah, just put it away.
These 2 cards, cool. I'm not fetching. I never want to see this card ever again. Cool. Put both these on the bottom and draw. People can definitely say like, oh well, he didn't get anything good. Hopefully, whereas you keep top, draw the top one. You're like, it's a good one. It's a counterspell, mana drain, negate, and arcane denial. Let's go.
Yeah, all of them, all stapled into one. And then Opt, I believe. So I believe Preordain is a sorcery, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then Opt is an instant that scries 1 and then draws a card. Correct? On someone's end step, we'll take a look at the top card of your library. If you don't feel like it's good, pitch it away forever and draw.
Okay.
Again, good cantrip style effects.
Yeah.
Good cards. Don't really see a ton of play in competitive. I know Brainstorm seems play in some decks, but they're usually like top deck manipulation decks, like Yuriko, for instance, plays Brainstorm. Doesn't really play any of the other ones though. It's mainly just Brainstorm.
Yeah. You want to be able to put whatever you want on top. Definitely with like Orcish Bowmasters doesn't feel that great. Cool. Draw 3, put 2 back on top, or put 3 on top and then draw the other one. Is like cool. This is not going to feel good. I essentially drew 4 cards.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then Bowmaster pings all my stuff down because I just drew 3 cards, and it can be rough for sure. So we don't really see a ton of these effects, but again, in the decks that do manipulate them, like Yuriko, they are good.
The last couple ones, they're a little bit everywhere. So I'm gonna have you go over the first 2.
So next up, at 15% play, we have Mystical Tutor. So Mystical Tutor is like Enlightened Tutor and is like Worldly Tutor, but Mystical Tutor specifically goes and gets an instant or a sorcery from your library and puts it on top at instant speed for 1 blue.
And you have to reveal it.
And you do have to reveal it. Mystical Tutor is really good. Obviously, any tutor that can do something, tutor at instant speed is fantastic. We love our tutors. And on the EDH side of things, there's probably a lot of fun big spells that you can find that are just crazy and interesting. Or maybe if you need to find your Cyclonic Rift or your counter spell just in case because you feel like someone's going to go off, or that they had just tutored something up. I could see why Mystical Tutor is really good in a casual format, because you know that other people probably aren't going to be able to stop your counterspell.
Cool.
Well, again, maybe, I don't know. But
Force of will at 11%.
But Mystical Tutor has always been in a weird place in CEDH, to be perfectly honest, because people don't like revealing what they get from a Mystical Tutor, because sometimes, like, for instance, say you have the Thassa's Oracle in hand. If you reveal the Demonic Consultation from a Mystical Tutor, everyone knows what you have.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, cool.
Even if you don't have the Thassa's Oracle and you're just like gonna get the Thassa's Oracle at a later point, nobody trusts you now. Everyone's gonna hold up everything for you. So it just makes it awkward.
Same with like silence. Like it's a value silence.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold it just in case.
I'm gonna stop the other person from going off. It's not for me, guys.
Yeah, it's like for instance, I play it in Krakashima.
Okay.
But like, gosh, when I'm like, oh, well, I have to because I have to go for it. I'm in a Mystical Tutor. I'm going to put Jessica's Will on top. And everyone goes, oh, for God's sake, here we go. Like, I'm going to hold up everything for you because now I literally can't let that resolve. Otherwise, you just go off, right? So Mystical Tutor in CEDH, don't get me wrong, still sees play.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And obviously, we'll go over that later. But I'm interested to see, like, what kinds of instants and sorceries people are going for on the EDH side of things. I assume it's like the big spells and counterspells in case you do need it.
Cyclonic Rift.
Like I said, I think it's more for the fun instants and sorceries and maybe the K. I don't know.
Maybe one of these other 2 that they might be going for with Mystical Tutor. Honestly,
yeah, possibly. So next up on the list at 13% play is Windfall. So we've talked about Windfall once or twice on the channel already, but Windfall is 2 and a blue. And you discard your hand and you draw equal to the number of the greatest cards discarded this way. I think is close to the wording.
Yes, so someone else has 20 cards. Cool. Everyone discards.
Discards.
Draws 20.
Exactly. So Windfall is a great wheel. Don't get me wrong. It is a fantastic wheel, especially if you're like a fast deck in the competitive side of things, where you dump your hand to like the one luck card that's left, you windfall, and everyone else still has 7 cards. So you're like, okay, cool. So they dump their hand, you get a new 7, or
Keep going off or
keep
hold up.
going off or whatever.
Yeah.
I think casually, I think it's just a good way to like refill, and there's a lot of like political tools that you can use a windfall on.
Sure.
Like, hey everybody, like everyone's like low on cards, right? Let's windfall. I got 7. Let's windfall.
Yeah, I don't need these.
And everyone's like, oh, thank goodness. Now we can keep this. Oh gosh, sorry. We can keep this game going. I can windfall. Let's go. Let's refill up the cards and let's play. I think that actually on our statistics of the like top 20 commanders that are played, I believe Nekusar is in that list.
Yes.
And Nekusar loves wheels, and windfall is one of the ones that's very punishing.
Everyone draws.
Yep, everyone draws, and then damage goes everywhere, right? So windfall is an interesting one. Again, another one that I'm interested to see like what the main purpose of them using windfall is.
More cards.
But maybe it's just more cards. Maybe it's just like, I need cards and I'm gonna windfall.
I'm in mono blue and I keep drawing up my Rhystic Study and I haven't drawn a single counter spell and I need to do something.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna windfall and there's a chance nobody else gets anything, and that's all it is. And that's pretty much what we use it for in CEDH too.
Yeah, I think refilling your hand is incredibly important. Just like with like Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora, having more cards than everyone else. Cool. I played out all my different stuff. Cool. And now I'm gonna windfall. Feels pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not deterministic, but man, it really does help you get to where you need to go.
Yeah. It's also really dangerous sometimes to use a windfall, because what can happen is you can windfall away someone's 7 that maybe didn't have any interaction for you to begin with.
And now it does.
And now all of a sudden they have all the interaction they could possibly need.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a possibility. You never know.
Could be
I think
all
the
lands.
other thing in competitive for people to know is that sometimes if you know the wheel is going to resolve, like you talk amongst yourselves and you're like, okay, this wheel is going to resolve and there's a chance that they could win from here, you start just using the cards in your hand.
Mystical Tutor.
You're like, I'm gonna lightning bolt your thing. I'm gonna cast this. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna cast this like Cyclonic Rift, but only the small version, to bounce your thing back to your hand because I want that to go back. I want that to go to your graveyard. And then I'm gonna Mystical Tutor
to put a counter spell on top.
Yeah.
So I make sure I get
cool.
It.
Now I have 4 cards in hand. Go ahead and let the windfall resolve.
Everyone draws.
And
4.
now everyone's down to 4.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a way to like abuse that in CEDH to like make it so the person who was trying to go really fast now all of a sudden is only going to get 4 cards, and it might not be very good.
Sure.
So I don't know. Yeah. So windfall is an interesting one. I like windfall. So.
Okay. So we got our last couple ones on EDH.
Yeah.
So we have Pongify and Rapid Hybridization. These are essentially the same card.
Yeah.
One sees 12%, which is Pongify, and then one 9% Rapid Hybridization. They're essentially the same thing. Like I said, they kill a creature. Do they exile it? They kill.
No, just destroy.
Cool. So they destroy a creature, and you get
a 3/3 ape.
A 3/3 ape. Semi-similar to like your Beast Within, your Generous Gift, except for it doesn't hit any target.
Mm-hmm.
Creatures are pretty good. This is your only real blue spell that kills anything.
Actually destroys, yeah.
Yes, it destroys. So once again, if it has indestructible, doesn't do anything. Cool. Destroy, cool. They just get a 3/3, ape. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, okay.
It does its thing. Nothing really crazy about it. It's 1 mana.
Yeah, 1 mana for destroy a thing is, good as a, Path to Exile or Swords to Plowshares, and,
arguably sometimes better.
Arguably sometimes, right? Because obviously Swords gives someone life, Swords to Plowshares gives life, and then Path to Exile gives them basic. And with a Rapid Hybridization, you're only, you're giving them a 3/3 rather than anything else, and it's only 1 mana at instant speed.
No trample, no flying.
Yeah, so arguably it can be better sometimes, but I think these are played mainly in EDH. But again, I could be wrong, and the reason they're playing it in EDH is that it's kind of the only thing that blue has to just destroy a creature.
Sure.
Rather than just bounce it.
Yeah, Cyclonic Rift, cool, we'll kill it. The very last thing, we talked a little bit about white with this. This is propaganda. This is essentially the Pillow Fort stacks kind of effect. Hey, just like Ghostly Prison,
Yep.
Ghostly Prison.
That's the one.
Cool. Said it right. Ghostly Prison. Propaganda, they had to pay 2, just like Ghostly Prison. Not like propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
Pogify.
Oh, for God's sake.
Okay. Sorry. I'm messing with you at that point in time.
You're fine.
Okay. So not much to talk about. You don't really see too much of those kind of pillow forts in CEDH at all. In EDH, yeah, 100%. You definitely see the cool. Everyone can draw as many cards. It's Windfall, and I'm gonna get Rhystic Studies, and I'm gonna Cyclonic Rift, and no one's gonna have anything. Then we wheel.
And I'm gonna put on my propaganda, so now you guys can't even attack me, and because you're not gonna have the mana, because you're gonna be too busy paying for my Rhystic Study, and then you just kind of draw and eventually win.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Greg. Yeah, it's gonna be 6 hours playing with Greg. Like, don't. Pillow fort is fun, but man, you let your opponents go to sleep at some point in time.
Yeah.
This would be a long game. And that's kind of why we don't see it too much in CDH. Outside of we don't really care about them attacking us. It really is.
Yeah.
We have 70 to 80-minute games. These kind of pillow fort things, they're not going to
quick enough.
They're not going to win. So that kind of concludes our EDH portion. Now into CDH, and this one's kind of interesting. We want to take like a 5-minute break on this one because I'm like, I need to reset. Like, how do we go about? I mean, in CDH, it seems like cool, basically the same stuff. Like, what's the real difference between like a couple more free spells and a win con?
Well, so that's really about it when it comes to switching to the CEDH side of things. So I'm sorry that we can't really give you guys like a ton of more information. Like, obviously we'll go with a couple other blue spells that you may not see